Welcome to DeFi by Design, where we talk all things blockchain, cryptocurrency, and strive to educate, power, and enrich.
What's up, guys? I'm Rob. Welcome to DeFi by Design. We're going to be talking about DeFi and everything crypto. I'm really excited to be on this podcast. This is episode 1, but Andrew and I have been talking about crypto and now DeFi more recently, so I'm really excited to start up this podcast. How's it going, Andrew?
It's going well. I'm Andrew, guys. What's going on? This is episode 1, so bear with us for anything that we say, do, or talk about, but we are here and we are excited. Both of us have definitely been in the crypto space for a while. Rob, maybe just a little longer than I have, going back to 2016, 2017 times, obviously with that big bull run, all that good stuff. And, we've kept a close tabs on all this stuff as we're extremely interested in it, being young guys. And now this whole industry of DeFi has really blown up almost in our faces. We can only imagine what it's going to do to the entire world at Storm once it gets going. And right here, our mission is to educate, empower, and enrich as a part of the DeFi Slate movement. And today we're going to keep this one real short, talk about what's been going on in DeFi as of recently, what it is, and where we are now. So I'm actually looking at a website. It's called DeFiPulse.com. A super cool website. As of today, there's $2.04 billion locked up in DeFi protocol, which is absolutely insane, Rob.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy how it's just boomed over the last few weeks. There was a few days where anything going on in crypto was all about DeFi. And I have a chart up too. I'm looking at 𝗪𝗏, which is a DeFi protocol. And they actually got a spike of a few $1 million a few weeks ago. And I think it's really interesting because, people with a lot of money are dipping their toes and just really testing out the water in this market. And it's growing along with the people testing it. And I think this really is the beginning of a larger movement in DeFi. It's really starting to grow. And this is where people have had their eyes set on for quite a while in this industry.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, one of the cool things is starting back in April of 2018, so almost 2 years ago now, or I suppose a little over 2 years ago, there was about 100 mil locked up and now there's 2 billion. So what we're seeing right now is exponential growth. Just yesterday, it was a little under 2 and now it's at about 2.05. So 3 billion is next, but really we're looking at 10 million next, as this should be going exponential pretty soon because of all the news and all the hype and the impact that it's made now. The main protocol that we're seeing right now is the Compound protocol. Currently, they have a dominance of about 33%. So what this means is of the $2.04 billion that are locked up in DeFi protocols, Compound has about 32% of that. So they have quite a bit, and they are actually on the Argent app as well. So Argent is a great wallet. In case you don't already have it, what you can do on there is you can buy Ethereum with extremely, extremely low amounts of KYC, as well as you can send and deposit Ethereum there to buy coins on 𝗫𝗏, which is a decentralized exchange, as well as put them up for liquidity on Compound. Currently, Compound's got to be my favorite. That and Lend, which is also known as 𝗍𝗶, are great. And essentially how those work is you provide them with some sort of funds. On Argent, it's Ethereum or the other DeFi coins. And basically you're able to earn an interest rate for providing your funds as liquidity. Obviously, there are some risks to this, but I'm really liking what Compound and 𝗍𝗶 are doing right now.
Yeah, man, it's exciting because DeFi really just stretches into so many different bounds. Like you said, they have wallets, they have coins. And what I'm really interested in actually is the different governance protocols that a lot of these DeFi coins are starting to implement. And a lot of them are kind of modeled after proof of stake. It's based on how many coins you have, and that's how much voting power you have. But what I'm interested in is the different proposals and the way that these coins are governing in an open source way. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see how these different governance models affect the coin's price, the different revenue streams that protocol might be seeing, and the incentives that are dealt out onto each of its customers. I think it's going to be really interesting to see which governances prove the most effective and then how we can implement those into other aspects and other protocols.
Yeah, no, most definitely. As far as these protocols go, especially with Compound in particular, their Compound token. Now, I'm not sure if our audience understands this, but what we have here with the Compound is we've got the protocol itself. So there's a Compound protocol, which is a protocol where you can lend and borrow coins, you can earn rates, right? It's all ran on Ethereum, right? But with the Compound token, all that is currently is a governance token. So the Compound token has absolutely zero use case to this day, except to vote on proposals for the Compound protocol. Now, you correct me if I'm wrong, Robbie, but I believe that is all that it's for. So with that being said,
Yeah, you got that right.
I think there might be a bit of price inflation here, if you will, on some of these coins, because theoretically the value of the Compound token, it's to be voted on or to be used to vote on proposals on the network. While that is very important and it does have that use case, the token itself does not actually earn you any money. It is not an interest-bearing token. If you use it to lend out, then it can be, but just the token itself. So one thing that I'm interested in is seeing how these protocols can incentivize their users to hold their tokens, right? Like in a staking manner. Now, I believe Kyber Network is launching some sort of staking for their token. It's kind of like an interest or a dividend-bearing platform that I would like to see come for most of these, just because I'd like to see a little more reason for us to hold some of these tokens aside from just a massive price increase, because like coins like 𝗷𝗶 have gone up like, 2,000% in the last 6 months, which is awesome. But what does holding 𝗷𝗶 really do for you? And the answer is unfortunately not much in terms of actually owning a token that has a use case. So I'd like to see, and I think that's what we're all kind of hoping for and betting on by buying these coins at these low prices, is that in the future, they will be interest or dividend bearing coins, so that the platform itself actually pays out the holders, which is like an incentive mechanism to hold the coin. In addition to them instituting the governance aspect, I'd like to see some more use cases and incentives from the protocols to the token holders to increase their desire to hold the coin instead of just a pump and dump and massive price increases.
Yeah, and that brings up a great point, because a lot of these people that are lending and borrowing and being incentivized by receiving that Compound token, they have the Compound token in their wallet, but I doubt, and I think this is verifiable, I doubt that a lot of people are actually going and voting on proposals. So it seems like, there is already a limited use case, and the people that are gaining the token and, receiving it for the volume that they're doing on that protocol, they're not even utilizing it for that use case. It's mainly utilized for speculation. And I think that is evidenced over the last week or two. We've seen DeFi coins really stumble. Like they had a short-term top, I think, but like you said, the prices of these coins are pretty overinflated because there's not much use case. They're mainly just a security right now that is getting, a lot of anticipation and a lot of excitement, and that's generating the rise in value of the coin. So I completely agree. I don't think governance is going to be a sufficient use case for these coins to sustain anything like the prices that they're seeing right now.
Yeah. And with that being said, now I feel like we're very early. So we're seeing this and we're going to see prices much, much higher over the coming years. So we might have a bit of a skewed idea, but there's no question that these governance tokens are going to need to adopt some sort of incentive structure to keep the holders holding. And I think you're completely right, man. As shabby as it is to admit this, I do own some comp tokens, and I have not used them at all for any sort of voting. However, I've seen a very interesting article by my friends over at the Bankless HQ. And what they've done is they have established a need for protocol politicians. So what this is these are people who could be just any guy like me or you, who are established to create proposals, to vote on proposals, and to kind of be the voice of the people, if you will. Because I think you're right. If we've got, 10 million holders, for example, or 10 million wallets, or even 500,000 wallets, right? The majority of those people aren't going to be voting, right? But if they can contribute their vote, right, just to a protocol politician who they are in line with a few clicks of a button, right, then I think that it's going to take all the stress off of them for having to actually think about it, and make it much easier for the protocol to grow. So it's going to be really interesting to see how we can form these little groups, almost like oligarchies, as weird as that is within the decentralized world, to be the politicians, if you will, of these protocols, to make it easier for the people who are owning them to vote and to basically give them their true use case. Because for the most part, the things that are currently in the proposals and being voted on are far above the average Joe's head in terms of intelligence in blockchain and knowledge of the supply structures and the lending and all this kind of stuff. So I'd be curious to see how those protocol politicians end up panning out. And, maybe one day we could be one.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Definitely, collecting the people's opinions and putting that into the protocol's proposals, I think would be really beneficial, because, a lot of these people, they have the coin, but they can't vote, or they don't vote for some reason. And I think that shows just like you're saying, all of the friction that's there between the coin and its use case. So it's going to be interesting because to actually improve on that, the proposals need to get implemented. So it's kind of a loop there because, the features that you're talking about that should be implemented ultimately need to get proposed, and then they need to get voted on and approved. So if you don't have, those people voting in the beginning, then it's going to be tough to get, any type of momentum and positive effect with that governance.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's going to be big, especially like you said in the beginning, right now for people to step up and be willing to look into these proposals and vote on them and act on them. Truly, that's going to be big for them to grow in the right direction, because ultimately it's up to the community at this point, like especially with these protocols like Compound and whatnot, it's out of the developers' hands. They have it on their website, literally, like, we did our part. Now it's time for you guys to do your part and take us where we need to go based off of the community. Now, obviously, it's not that simple, but essentially these protocols are basically ran by the community. And so in order for them to work in the longer term, the community has to be active and they have to be incentivized to want to vote. And I think that brings us back to our point of giving the token holders a little more incentive to be active in the voting and to be active on the platform.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of open source is, like you said, the developers did their job. They brought that idea and they made it into a reality. And now it's up to the community to actually make that protocol successful or generate, the type of interest that would be needed to continue the life of that protocol. So yeah, it's really interesting. And I think that I'm going to switch gears a little bit, but I think that's a great segue into prediction markets and specifically Augur. They use a decentralized oracle, which actually sounds a lot like the protocol politician that you were explaining. And if you've ever noticed Augur's ticker, it's REP, REP, which actually has little to do with, Augur. It's, obviously that it's not a spelling or anything to do with the name. So REP actually stands for reputation. And the more rep you have, this is, again, the incentive for, making bets and doing volume on Augur. You're incentivized with rep and you're actually granted more reputation. So you're given more weight in that same type of like expert or, protocol politician that you were explaining. You're given that reputation in a particular sector, in a particular field. So I think Augur is doing a really interesting job of how they govern their coin. And I think prediction markets are really the next step for DeFi.
Yeah, I like those a lot. I mean, it's super cool how you can vote on anything. You can create markets for anything, essentially. I was looking at the Gnosis one, the GNO. There's all sorts of stuff. There's stock market predictions. There's Donald Trump predictions. There's sports predictions. There's all sorts of stuff. And it's only going to grow. And I mean, wow, I've got just so much to talk about as far as the DeFi apps go. I mean, I would love to just break down a bunch of them over the next few episodes and just kind of introduce how they work, especially like the automated asset management ones, the prize link savings accounts ones. Those are super cool. I really like that. But we're going to keep this one shorter. We are going to be creating a bunch more podcasts. We're going to be introducing people and interviewing them in the space, people who we know personally, people who are big online, protocols, all sorts of stuff, all DeFi and crypto related. If you have any suggestions, we'll happily answer those in the comment section or in a direct message. Rob, what can we wrap up with as far as the next few episodes, an idea of our trajectory and kind of where we're headed with this?
Yeah, man, I want to get, as many knowledgeable and informative people in the DeFi space on this podcast as possible. We might broaden that scope out to, just cryptocurrency in general, traders, maybe some more traditional finance to get, a little bit of a taste of what's currently around us. But yeah, I think engaging with those knowledgeable people, you had a great idea. Maybe we could do a review of these different DeFi apps and wallets, to just spice things up as we go along. But yeah, I'm really excited for DeFi and this podcast. I think, I'm going to learn a lot as we're going through this, and I hope the audience learns a lot too.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to that. You guys can also find a bunch more content. We will link this on the DeFi Slate Twitter and the Substack. We will have a bunch of blog posts on there every single week, tweets, this podcast, some trading analysis, all sorts of good stuff there as well. We'll keep this all tied together and moving forward. So I guess that about wraps it up for the first episode, Rob. That's about all that I've got. And I'm looking forward to doing a full length one on our next one and really breaking it down. Alrighty, guys.
Bye, guys. Catch you later.
Thanks for listening to the DeFi by Design podcast. Until next time, DeFi Slate Team.